Welcome to my channel, where I reveal the travel secrets that airlines desperately hope you'll never discover. If you're new here, you're about to learn strategies that will completely transform every flight you take from this moment forward. Make sure you stick around because today's video could literally save you from hours of pain and discomfort on your next journey. Picture this scenario for just a moment. You step onto that aircraft, ticket clutched in your hand, and you're mentally crossing your fingers, hoping for the best. You navigate down that narrow aisle, checking row numbers as you go, and then it hits you like a ton of bricks. Somehow, you've managed to land the absolute worst seat on the entire plane. Your legs are immediately cramped into an impossibly small space. There's absolutely no window to gaze out of during those long stretches of boredom. The overhead compartment above your seat is completely packed with other passengers' belongings, leaving you with nowhere to store your carry-on bag. And just when you think it couldn't possibly get any worse, you realize with growing horror that you're positioned directly next to the lavatory, where you'll be subjected to an endless parade of passengers and odors for the next several hours. Trust me when I tell you, you're definitely not alone in experiencing this nightmare. But here's what's fascinating. While you're struggling in your uncomfortable seat, shifting positions every few minutes trying to find some relief, you notice other passengers around the cabin who appear completely at peace with their flying experience. They've got their feet elevated comfortably, their bags are neatly stowed away without any hassle, and they're already drifting off into a peaceful sleep like they've done this 1,000 times before. So what exactly do these seasoned travelers know that the rest of us are missing out on? Let me share the truth with you right now. Airlines will never openly advertise this fact, but the seat you choose has the power to completely make or break your entire flight experience. This isn't just about throwing more money at the problem or splurging on first-class tickets. This is about understanding and mastering the hidden seat selection game that airlines have created, hoping that most passengers will remain completely in the dark about these strategies. If you've ever found yourself trapped in a seat that simply won't recline no matter how hard you press that button, if you've had to surrender your carry-on bag to a last-minute gate check when you never planned for it, or if you've sat there impatiently while watching other passengers breeze past you during deplaning, then consider this video your complete playbook for beating the system at their own game. Now, let me tell you something that airlines absolutely don't want you to understand about those back row seats they're constantly trying to fill with unsuspecting passengers. These seats are practically engineered to make your flight as miserable as humanly possible. Think about it carefully for just a second. When was the last time you witnessed a frequent flyer, someone who genuinely knows the ins and outs of air travel, voluntarily selecting the very last row of the aircraft? The answer is probably never, and there's a very good reason for that. That non-reclining seat in the back isn't merely uncomfortable or slightly annoying. On long-haul flights, it actually becomes a legitimate health hazard that can affect you for days after you land. Your spine remains locked in a completely upright position for hours on end, creating muscle stiffness and tension that can persist long after you've reached your destination. But here's the part that should really make you angry. You're paying exactly the same price as passengers sitting just 3 rows ahead of you who can actually lean back, relax, and get some rest during the flight. The constant bathroom traffic near those last rows is absolutely relentless and exhausting. Every single passenger from the middle and front sections of the plane trudges past your seat throughout the entire flight. You're subjected to unpleasant odors wafting from the lavatory, constant noise from the door opening and closing, and the endless bumping and jostling as people squeeze past your seat. One flight attendant actually told me during a conversation that she's witnessed passengers sitting in that last row get bumped by bathroom doors opening literally dozens of times during a single flight. If you absolutely must sit toward the back of the aircraft for whatever reason, choose an aisle seat in the second to last row instead. You'll capture about 90% of the benefits of being near the back while avoiding all of that bathroom chaos entirely. Now let's talk about those exit row seats that airlines market so aggressively as if they're doing you some kind of incredible favor. They promote that extra legroom like it's a premium experience worth paying for. But here's what they're deliberately not telling you in those marketing materials. You might actually end up being less comfortable than if you had just chosen a regular economy seat without paying anything extra. First and foremost, you're essentially paying additional money for the privilege of doing the airline's job for them. In the event of an actual emergency, you instantly become an unpaid member of the flight crew with serious legal responsibilities and potential liability. But the real problem that catches most passengers off guard is that underseat storage space you typically rely on during flights completely vanishes. Your personal item, your essential medications, your snacks for the journey. Literally everything must go into the overhead bin, which might already be completely full by the time you board the aircraft. I learned this lesson the hard way during a flight to Denver that I'll never forget. I paid $45 extra specifically for that exit row legroom, fully expecting a comfortable journey. Then I had to gate check my carry-on bag because there was absolutely no bin space remaining anywhere near my seat. That so-called premium seat ended up costing me an additional full hour standing around at baggage claim, and I nearly missed my connecting flight because of the delay. The temperature issue with exit rows is also very real and something most passengers don't consider until it's too late. Those emergency exits aren't perfectly sealed against the elements. At 35,000 feet in the air, you're essentially sitting right next to a barely insulated wall with outside temperatures plummeting to -70 degrees Fahrenheit. Unless you bring multiple layers of clothing, you'll be absolutely miserable and freezing for the entire duration of your flight. Bulkhead seats initially seem absolutely perfect when you're looking at that seat map. There's nobody in front of you who can recline their seat back into your precious personal space. You get extra legroom for stretching out. You have completely unobstructed views of the cabin. But airlines have quietly removed many of the best features of these seats while continuing to charge premium pricing for them. Here's the hidden trap that most passengers discover too late. Your tray table has to fold out from the armrest instead of the seat back in front of you, which makes it considerably smaller and significantly more awkward to use during the flight. Try eating a full meal or attempting to use your laptop on one of these tiny surfaces. It's like trying to work on one of those flimsy TV dinner trays from decades ago. Additionally, your armrest doesn't lift up like it does in regular seats, which means you're actually locked into a narrower space than you would have in standard economy seating. The entertainment screen is also built directly into that armrest, positioned at an awkward angle that will absolutely give you neck strain on any flight lasting longer than 2 hours. And just like with exit rows, forget about having any underseat storage whatsoever. Everything you bring must go in the overhead compartment. Everyone universally knows that middle seats are terrible, but let me explain why they're actually worse than you probably think, and reveal the one specific scenario where choosing a middle seat is actually a brilliant strategic move. When you're stuck in a middle seat, you're constantly fighting for armrest territory with two complete strangers on either side of you. You have absolutely zero personal space to call your own. Accessing the aisle to use the restroom or stretch your legs means disturbing at least one person every single time you need to move. But here's what most travelers completely miss in their assessment. Middle seat passengers actually have the worst air circulation in the entire row, which makes you significantly more susceptible to getting sick from your fellow passengers and their germs. This is where airlines are quietly implementing changes that negatively impact their most loyal customers without most people even noticing. This boarding method, called WILMA, which stands for Window Middle Aisle, sounds incredibly efficient in theory, but it's actually designed to force passengers into purchasing expensive upgrades to avoid the disadvantages it creates. If you're someone who strongly prefers aisle seats and you like to board early so you can secure overhead bin space for your belongings, you're now boarding dead last under this system. By the time you finally get onto that aircraft, every single bin is already stuffed completely full, and you're facing a gate check for items you've successfully carried on for years without any issues. Here's the workaround strategy that airlines absolutely don't want you to know about. Book a window or middle seat initially when you're making your reservation. Then once you're comfortably seated on the aircraft and you've secured your precious bin space, politely ask to switch seats with an aisle passenger. Most people are genuinely happy to trade up to a window view, and you get the aisle access you wanted all along without any of the boarding disadvantages. Airlines desperately want you to believe it's either first class or nothing, but there's actually a secret zone on most aircraft that gives you about 80% of the premium experience at standard economy prices. Rows 6 through 9 on most narrow-body aircraft hit the absolute perfect balance between comfort and value. You're positioned close enough to the front of the plane for relatively early boarding and quick deplaning when you reach your destination, but you're far enough back to avoid the chaos of families with young children who typically cluster in the first few rows near the front. The ride quality is noticeably smoother in this zone as well. You're positioned directly over or just slightly behind the wing, which happens to be the aircraft's center of gravity. This means less turbulence affecting your seat, reduced motion sickness if you're prone to it, and better sleep quality during your flight. But whatever you do, avoid rows 10 through 15 at absolutely all costs. This is where airlines typically place their most problematic passengers and situations. The travelers who couldn't manage to get seats together, the last-minute bookers who had limited options, the people who refused to pay for seat selection and got stuck with whatever remained. It's essentially chaos central on most flights. After personally analyzing thousands upon thousands of seat maps and flight configurations across different airlines and aircraft types, I've discovered one seat type that consistently delivers the absolute best overall experience. The single center aisle seat on wide-body aircraft is your golden ticket to flight comfort. You get all the mobility benefits and convenience of an aisle seat without the constant annoyance of having to stand up for your seatmates every time they need to move. You're positioned in the middle of the cabin for optimal service from flight attendants and minimal turbulence effects. And here's the real kicker that makes this seat so valuable. When that Wilma boarding system happens, you're technically in the aisle category, but with absolutely none of the typical disadvantages that come with it. The secret to actually securing this coveted seat is timing and preparation. Set an alarm for exactly 24 hours before your scheduled flight departure, which is precisely when online check-in opens for most airlines. Have your confirmation number ready and easily accessible on your phone. Then grab that center aisle seat the very moment it becomes available in the system. These seats get snatched up incredibly quickly by savvy travelers, so you need to act fast. Airlines make substantial money by steering unsuspecting passengers towards seats that benefit the airline's bottom line, not your comfort or convenience. Their seat maps prominently highlight so-called preferred seats that often have significant hidden drawbacks, like being positioned directly next to the galley where flight attendants prepare meals, or right beside the bathroom where you'll deal with constant traffic and noise. This is where a tool called Seat Guru becomes absolutely invaluable for smart travelers. Input your exact flight number and specific aircraft type into the website, and you'll see detailed color-coded warnings about seats with limited recline capability, misaligned windows that make it impossible to actually see out, or excessive noise from engines or galleys. This free tool has personally saved me from booking absolutely terrible seats dozens and dozens of times over the years. Most travelers check in sometime during that 24-hour window before their flight, but the real professionals know that success is all about those first 60 seconds when check-in opens. Airlines release their best remaining seats right at the 24-hour mark, and these prime seats disappear incredibly fast. Set multiple alarms on your phone so you don't miss it. Have your confirmation number saved and ready to paste. Be completely prepared to act immediately the second that check-in window opens up. I've personally witnessed passengers upgrade themselves from middle seats to premium aisle seats just by being first in line digitally when check-in opens. Here's some mathematics that airlines really don't want you to sit down and calculate. Sometimes paying a relatively small fee for a premium economy or preferred seat actually costs you less in the long run than dealing with all the negative consequences of being stuck in a terrible seat for hours. On flights lasting longer than 4 hours, spending $25 to $50 for a significantly better seat can save you literally days of recovery time from poor sleep quality and body stiffness after you land. But here's the insider timing strategy that most passengers never discover. These upgrade prices often drop significantly within 24 hours of departure as airlines desperately try to fill their premium seats rather than leaving them empty. The sweet spot for finding deals is to check upgrade prices when you first book your ticket, then check again exactly 24 hours before departure. You'll frequently find 30 to 50% discounts on seat upgrades that airlines quietly offer to fill their premium sections at the last minute. After personally testing all of these strategies on hundreds of flights across multiple airlines and aircraft types, here's your complete step-by-step action plan for securing the best possible seat every single time you fly. First, use Seat Guru to thoroughly research your specific aircraft before you even book your ticket. Second, target that single center aisle seat on wide-body planes, or aim for rows 6 through 9 on the aisle for narrow-body aircraft. Third, set your 24-hour check-in alarm and be completely ready to act immediately when it goes off. Fourth, if you end up stuck with a poor seat despite your best efforts, continuously monitor for last-minute upgrade deals that might appear. Fifth, always have a backup plan ready for dealing with Wilma boarding if you're assigned to an aisle seat. The difference between enduring a completely miserable flight and enjoying a comfortable journey often comes down to spending just 5 minutes on strategic seat selection before your trip. Airlines are absolutely counting on you to simply accept whatever seat they assign to you without questioning it or trying to improve your situation. But now you're armed with knowledge that puts you ahead of 99% of other passengers. So tell me, which of these seat secrets surprised you the most today? Have you ever been stuck in one of these problematic seats I've described? Drop your absolute worst airplane seat story down in the comments section below. I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing about your travel experiences and the lessons you've learned along the way. If this video helped you become a significantly smarter and more strategic traveler, smash that like button to help other travelers discover these insider tips that the airlines don't want you to know about. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss future videos packed with money-saving travel strategies. Thanks so much for watching, and safe travels on all your future journeys.